Americans make up about 4 to 5% of the world's population. Here in the United States, we have our own culture, our own ways of thinking about the world and communicating with those around us. But what about the other 95%? In what ways do they think, act, and communicate differently from those in the United States? And what does that mean for us? Because culture differs from place to place and country to country, mutual understanding and communication can seem like a difficult thing to accomplish at times. My goal is that we as Americans can learn about our own cultural communication habits and improve our relationship with the other 95%, both here at home and abroad. In order to help us understand some basics about our own cultural communication habits and learn a little about those in other countries, I decided to interview 6 BYU Idaho students from 6 different countries around the world. I wanted to dig deep into their perceptions on American communication behavior. Before I went into the interviews, I wanted to look into how culture influences our communication and why it can be hard sometimes to look outside our own cultural box. According to the late Edward T. Hall, American anthropologist and cross-cultural researcher, culture is a total communication framework, or a series of situational models for behavior and thought that dictate much of human behavior. It can be read correctly only if one is familiar with the behavior in its own historical, social, and cultural context. The norms and rules of our everyday behavior, or our paradigms, are cultural and differ from country to country. An example of this is found in the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which indicates that even our thoughts are constructed on the cultural basis of language. Hall noted that people tend to treat their culture as though it were innate, and many have the tendency to think that someone who behaves outside of their own cultural norms is irresponsible, rude, or even inferior. It can be difficult for one to recognize the ins and outs of his or her own cultural system unless that individual is given the opportunity to see other cultural paradigms at work and see how they contrast with his or her own. This presentation will give the opportunity for us to see our own paradigms against the backdrops of other cultures. So just how do Americans communicate differently from those of other cultures? The best way for us to find out is to see our culture through the eyes of the other 95%.
I was surprised when I got here and realized before you hold a girl's hand, it must be that there's something going on between you. That might be just here in Idaho. I don't know if that's like applicable in all parts of the U.S. though.
I think it is, yeah.
Okay, so it's like, I was like, what? Like, that's like normal, you know, like, in fact, like touching somebody, you know, it's like, it's weird, you know, like, at home, like guys will walk around, like in Nigeria, guys will walk around holding hands, you know, brothers, you know. Nothing is happening. It's not because they're gay or anything. They just, you know, we touch each other. Like if somebody likes you, if your friends, they touch you. But I think like it weirds me out now if someone comes too close to me. I'm like, hey, yeah. So I think that's kind of weird.
In India, there's not much sense of privacy. So, like if you, like it doesn't matter how close you are, you know, in contact with the person that much. And here it's a big deal. It's like you want personal space and privacy. Or even like sharing food or like roommates and things like that. It's a big deal if like someone touched your dish or someone took something, you know. And in India it's very casual and it's like nobody thinks of it in a bad way. It's just like we're all friends, it's fine.
Americans are usually more reserved. They usually do their own things, like they're more individualistic. While in Brazil, people tend to be sometimes they're very natural with you, but way too fast, and they're knocking on your door without telling you. And that's very common in Brazil culturally, that people will just be sometimes inconvenient with other people, and they're just too naturally. They group together and start making friends and stuff. While in America, I feel that people are more laid back. They don't interact with as much excitement with other people.
One of the first things that you notice once you're in this country, because when you just come from your country and arrive here, you can feel it. Americans are not, the way of communicating is not by physical touch. We're very used to physical touch every time we see each other. That meaning kisses in the cheek, hugs, or other expressions of physical touch, that we have to have some sort of physical touch every time we we meet or we see a person in a meeting, and that's kind of one of the biggest things that we notice once we're in this country.
A kiss on the cheek is one example of a common gesture in Latin countries used among friends, relatives, and often new acquaintances. It is considered a normal platonic greeting, just like shaking hands. Daniela and Gizmo tell us about confusion they encountered upon coming to the U.S. in regards to this friendly gesture.
In a class, actually, as I was telling you, like physical touch, I hugged a friend and I kissed him in the cheek, and I had 3 or 4 people ask me if he was my boyfriend. He's like a brother to me. So this is a simple thing, but yeah, it's happened.
When you're talking on the phone, you always end up the conversation with either a kiss or a hug. So if you're talking to a man, you say, okay, hug, bye. Mm-hmm. And if you're talking to a woman, you say kisses, bye. While in the U.S., sometimes on the phone, you don't even say goodbye. You just hang up the phone. It's very awkward if people kiss each other on the cheek when they meet. I've done that when I came here. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting to see people's reaction when I kiss a girl on the cheek right when I meet her. Hi, how's it going? My name is Gizmo.
This is like a problem with me here, because I think people see me that I overexpress myself, but this is usually me all the time. I have a high-pitched voice sometimes, and people think I'm actually screaming to my parents on Skype, or I'm actually talking with my sister and fighting with her, but actually this is my excitement voice. We always are loud. We are very loud people. And I came here and people talk very quiet. And I'm like, why these people talk this quiet? And I'm very enthusiastic, and I'm like all the time yelling and stuff, and I had a problem with that before.
That's where I go and drawing conclusions when I'm not able to interpret by your tone of voice, by your gestures, by your movements, by your like physical or nonverbal expressions. I won't be able to tell what's going on. And several times it's kind of confusing, and it's like, okay, what should I do, you know?
Yeah, I had to like adjust, because sometimes, you know, like Nigerians are naturally loud, you know, and we use a lot of gesticulations while expressing, you know, ourselves. So I think I had to learn to like calm down, you know, relax when I'm talking to someone from around here, because sometimes you talk and then people think that you're freaking out and then you scare them, and that is not good. You just had to adjust like that. But there's a kid who came from my ward from Nigeria just lately. He came here and he had problems with his roommate, started like talking carelessly the way, you know, he would naturally talk in Nigeria. He freaked the kid out. The kid ran to the school and reported. And then also went to the manager and reported. And before you knew it, like cops were involved. I was like, he doesn't even mean it. Like, and then he called me on the phone. I was talking. I was like, hey, calm down. Don't even talk like that. If you go there and talk the way you're talking, they're going to still say you're in so much. They're going to be freaked out too. So just relax. There's no problem, you know. So it has to be a calm tone, you know, in a certain way, and not too many gesticulations.
They're just pretty straightforward. Whatever you have to say, you say it. But we're not as straightforward. We always think, how can I word this better? How can I say this better so I won't make you feel bad?
People here are sometimes so forward that they're rude. Like, I don't know, you look tired today. You don't say that to people. People sometimes, they don't mean it in a bad way, but they just kind of rude. At first I had a problem with that. I kind of had to understand if they're joking or are they serious, and so that was the first impression I had.
One other thing is, like, I usually use a lot of, and now I'm just hitting here, kind of hiding my hand, because I usually use a lot of like facial expression and gestures and everything, and that's kind of similar to Italian because I'm Mediterranean, so we do use a lot of hands. And I noticed Americans don't do that unless they are very angry with you. Yeah, we have gestures for everything. It's like, yeah, that's big. Or it's like, yeah, call me. It's like, yo, go away. We have to do a lot of expression. People be like, oh, she's angry all the time.
Objectively, we're very highly expressive. We talk with our hands a lot. If we like you, you will know it, and if we don't like you, you will know it too. You know, we talk about, I don't know, we are very touchy, tactile, stuff like that. And compared to the Americans, there is definitely a difference here. People can be very cold sometimes, even if they are nice, but they can be really cold.
I think for Brazilians it seems very cold because Brazilians are very used to this warm, this touching and all this warm interactions with each other. So when they interact with Americans, most of the time they feel like they're being cold. But I myself always thought it's just a cultural difference.
One cultural difference is the different meanings attached to gestures around the world. Common American gestures like the thumbs up or the OK sign have different or even obscene meanings in some countries. One unusual difference is found in Albania.
There is a confusion when it comes to saying yes or no with your head gestures, which is like, for you guys it's like this yes, and for us this is no. No, I don't want it. And this is no for you guys, and this is yes for me. I want it.
Okay.
So now I'm like very used to. And so the other day I was talking with my mom on Skype, and she was doing, I don't want this. And I'm like, oh, so you want that? My mom's like, I don't want it. And I'm like, and I got confused because I've been here for too long, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go home and people will give me extra sugar and stuff and all this drama, like when I go home. So hopefully, but that's the only thing.
Like other primarily English-speaking Northern European and some East Asian countries, America is considered a low expressive culture. This means that Americans tend to communicate using less nonverbal gestures, variance in vocal tone, and physical touch than in most cultures. This seems to be a common thread in all the interviews, and without their help in identifying this, it would be hard for us to recognize this trend in ourselves. This knowledge can help us avoid confusion when interacting with individuals from most other parts of the world. As part of a complex world full of cultural differences, it's important not to jump to conclusions about those from other cultures. It's also important that when we travel abroad, we research a little and learn about other cultures. When among them, we should observe the locals' behavior to make sure that we show respect for their cultural norms. Being aware of our cultural paradigms, as well as those of other countries, will help us to become better cross-cultural communicators. It will also help us to better understand our own behavior. And in this way, we can build better relationships with the other 95% of the planet.